Welcome to the CEN show, where we present the voice of the community. The CommunityEducationNetwork.com is a platform to aid the effort of self and collective improvement. I am your host, Rasaki Maskani. Tonight's guest is CJH Moore. He's an exceptional author, and we will continue to discuss his excellent book, Natural Born Gangster, The Legend of Chris Bell. This is part 3 of a 4-part series. How are you doing this evening, Brother Moore?
I'm doing fine. Thank you, Rigo. Everything is rolling as well as planned. And I'd like to thank the higher power for us to be able to meet again this evening. And Amun Ra, personally, I'd like to thank you and historian Joe Hembert, Professor Amun Ra. I'd like to thank you both for being a part of this program.
Thank you, Debo.
Okay. So, Brother Moore, I have one question for you about the book, and then I have some quotes I want you to discuss. So, what character in the book closely resemble you and why?
Well, it takes a lot of thought and organization to develop characters. I believe I have over 20 characters in that book that I had to make it seem like they were real, make it seem like the book was an alternate reality. But me, myself, in that book, I really like the character of Mahdi. Mahdi is the one who really gave Chris Bell insight to do the things he did and understand his own self, because Chris Bell didn't understand very much when he was young. Now, he did everything when he was young, but he had to grow like everything else has to grow. The universe, the way of the universe, you want to be natural, you have to grow. So that means you're going to make mistakes, you're not going to understand things, and then ultimately you will understand what the heck's going on around you. Now, I want to make this point. See, the prologue of my book was 17 pages. 17 pages. Has anybody figured out what the prologue really was? Okay. If they haven't, and of course, art is something that needs to be studied. We can't lead art, we have to follow art. And that has to be understood. See, if you think you're leading art and then you're dead wrong. You have to follow art, you see where it's going, and learn how to follow art. Now, 17 pages of my prologue for Chris Bell at that age, before he went to kindergarten, his first day of kindergarten, he was going on astro journeys. It was an astral journey. It wasn't a daydream. And if you read it carefully, it is an astral journey he's going on. Now, when he's going on these astral journeys, he's seeing a lot of things that he may not have understood at that age. And Mahdi was the one who brought him in line with his own understanding. In fact, he told him he was chosen by God. Mahdi told Chris Bell he was chosen by God because Chris Bell wasn't afraid. Fear was something that didn't overtake him. Now, he had the feelings of fear and the tingles, but his ultimate goal was to do what he believed in. So he was scared, but he wasn't scared, if you understand what I'm saying. He just jumped in there and did it because he believed in it.
Okay, that kind of leads to one of these quotes you wanted to discuss. Trust overcomes fear.
Yes, it fits like a glove. Now, if anybody, and I'm sure that most people have had fears before, in the book, Chris Bell was scared of a character in the book. He was very scared of him. In fact, it scared him to his foundation, as my mother used to say. So he had to overcome that fear. He had to overcome it. And how he overcame the fear was he joined the Vice Lords. And his duty to carry out, to show, to prove that he was sincere, was to get the guy that he was scared of. And then after that, his fears dissolved. Yes, fear is something that keeps us locked up, keeps us in jail, keeps us in a mental prison. Fear is something that you can escape from if you don't look fear square in the face. Now, Chris Bell, he did that. He wasn't scared, and he grew. He grew from time to time. He took one step at a time to get rid of his fears. But we all are born with them, and we all have them. We all develop them because we're scared of this. You're scared of that. You're scared to ask a girl to dance with you when you're a kid. You're scared to jump. It's something you're afraid of. So what do you have to do with that is look them straight in the face, so to speak. Stand up to them, and you'll see that they will dissolve, just like they did for Chris Bell. And Chris Bell is an example for a lot of people out there, especially a lot of gangsters. It's an example for them. You can do good things instead of bad things. You can build instead of destroy. You can help someone live or help them get a carton of milk or a meal on wheels instead of just going around shooting people and killing people for no reason. And that's how he built up his status. He built a great status in the book, and people really trusted him. And with that trust, when the other powers that came in there tried to snatch him, there's no way that they were going to give him up because of what he did. Okay, moral turpitude. That guy was something else. He was good. He was a good gangster. Okay, so now ultimately, your fears, to overcome your fears, you got to look them straight in the face. You got to walk toward them. You can't be afraid of them. Did that answer your question?
Yes, and then that takes me to when there's a thing called face your fears. In other words, that's what you're saying, right?
Yes, exactly. You got to face them because they're not really real. They're like a mirage.
Okay. Now, before I move on to my next quote that you want to discuss, I'm going to include the panel so we can get them engaged also. So, Brother Hembrick, at this point, any questions or comments?
No.
Okay. Brother Doctor?
No.
Okay. Brother Mashenda?
Not right now, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Professor Amin-Ra?
He's muted.
Yeah.
Abangani, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I appreciate what you said, if I understand it correctly. Again, we deeply appreciate the insight. I just have a couple of small questions. When you say an astro journey, what do you mean?
Rob, give me a high five. You. That's great, man. Yeah. Look, astral journey is when your astral body separates from your physical body. And we all know that, and we should know that our soul chakra is silver. And the astral body, what it does is it travels around. It can go anywhere in the universe, and gather information. See, Chris Bell was doing this, and he even realized, because he was a star child, he didn't realize what he was doing at first. But once he caught up with and understood how he was, all this stuff was occurring, he could do some amazing things. And not only do amazing things for himself, but he was like a Magic Johnson of the ghetto, so to speak. He could touch other people and pass the ball to other people so they could shine too. See, now, the astral journey is simply traveling throughout the ethers, traveling throughout space, going anywhere. An astral body can go anywhere. There's nothing too hot or too cold, too solid. There's no liquid or no gas that the astral body cannot travel through. And believe it or not, that is partly how our ancestors, the Egyptians, built the pyramids, through astral journeys, because they gained a lot of information. And they could go where they wanted to go in the cosmos. That's because they were trained that way. They were trained that way from the age of kindergarten, from the age of 2, 3, whenever they could understand, they were trained to go on astral journeys. Good question, Amon-Ra. Did I answer?
I'm just trying to get clarity, because some people call it spiritual journey. And
Okay.
some people, and Garvey called it the whirlwind. You see me in the whirlwind.
Okay.
Then there is the transcendence perspective. And when I hear astral journey, I agree with you. It's, it sounds like space, being able to travel through even though you're physical, but there's an aspect of you that allows you to see what others don't see, travel where others, where you have a unique travel or unique interpretation of the universe and of other humans, as far as that. But go ahead.
Yeah.
And then I have another question after that.
Okay, sure. Hold on to that question. Melanated bodies can astral journey, and I believe that they don't know the difference, or trying to find the difference between the astral journey and the dream. See, because there are dreams and astral journeys. Melanated bodies can astral journey and gather information, but that information has to be interpreted, understood, and uttered. If you don't have anybody to do that for you, you're going to be confused. That doesn't mean you're a bad or a good person. You just need to know yourself. You'll be a better person by understanding what your body can do, because a body is the best built machine ever in the universe. No other machine can be built better. You can't build a probe to go to Mars. You can't build a microscope or a telescope to see little bitty organisms. The human body can do all that, but we just have to be trained that we can and what we're seeing. And Chris Bell could do that. He was a machine. He was really a machine. And he just did the things he did. People don't understand that Chris Bell was an enlightened and determined and ambitious young man. At the age of 5, he was doing things that people couldn't do at 30. That's because physically, he wasn't as strong, but mentally, he was strong, very strong. So he just believed he could do it, and he did it. Now, the soul chakra is silver, and it is the 12th chakra on your basic chakra chart. It's the 12th chakra. See, but it's an out of body chakra. See, it's a spiritual chakra. It is not a body chakra. See, now what they talking about in all those pictures you see and on the internet and what have you, they are talking about the body chakras. I'm talking about the outer body chakras. When you talk about the Akashic record gold chakra, the soul silver chakra, the brown feet chakra, and the pink hand chakra. And this is the most important chakra of them all, the black aura chakra. If you read what they have to say about it, and your ancestors should be really talking to you about these things, not them, because they don't know. But the black aura chakra is the one that absorbs all the energy and the information.
Yeah, okay.
So,
I have another quick question, but so he started with a combination of being a psychic, had hindsight, insight, and foresight through his journey.
yes.
You know, he can look back on things, look through things, and look see ahead of things. The other thing is when you say a good gangster,
Okay.
how did that go together?
Okay, that's very good. Now, we realize that the Marines are the ones that protect the democratic system, right? Whenever they need protection, they call on the Marines, and the Marines are some bad boys. They're some bad boys. You can shake a 90-year-old Marine's hand today, and he would crush it. They are bad boys. I've experienced this. So the Marines are good. They do good things, and they go out and do things that people don't like. Now, Chris Bell is a good gangster because he gave back to the community. He helped the community, uplifted the community. He didn't go around killing innocent people, from babies to 90-year-old adults. He didn't do it. He loved people. So that's what Star Child is. They get into people. They love people, and they understand life and the human body. They understand that the human body is the best machine ever built, and it's precious to them, just like our ancestors did. Our ancestors didn't believe in killing and war. I'm talking the Egyptians, but even before the Egyptians, the Mesopotamians, the Ethiopians, they didn't do this. But we have been trained to believe that they did bad things to each other, but they were really one with nature, like Chris Bell. They love nature. They would even kill an animal. And what they were herbalists. Now they had some meat, but that meat was not go out and kill. These people were builders. They built the pyramids, they build life. They didn't destroy it. Did that answer your question, Amara?
Yeah, but okay, what did he do that made him a gangster? And what did, you talked about what made him good, but what did he do to make him a gangster?
He sold drugs.
Okay, now, that's where, okay, let me get to something else. When you say trust overcomes fear, because part of human nature is when you are frightened or startled, you're startled or frightened, you run, or you palpitate, or you go through changes. When you say trust can overcome fear, when it's a part of you, fear is a part of you. I mean, like you say, even Marines get afraid, and then going back to the
Okay, very good, Amon-Ra. You open up discussion right there. A very good discussion. I appreciate it.
Answer that question.
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
What did you say, Joe?
He wanted to talk about the feather in the heart.
No, not. I didn't want to just talk about that. But what made Chris Bell a good gangster? He wasn't just a drug dealer. He was pimping too. But he did not sell drugs to his people.
Okay.
He was sure that the drugs were so outside the community. If you sold drugs in the community, then they moved on you. No, he wasn't selling to his own people. And also, he was a pimp also. He just didn't sell drugs. Now, some of the things that made him a good gangster, if you read the book or anybody, I guess maybe me and maybe Rascani, but the stuff that he did for the homeless, when they were renovating those buildings and getting the homeless off the street and using those vacant lots to set up playgrounds for kids and also to grow vegetables and whatnot. Now getting to the judgment with Ma'at and weighing the heart against the feather, that's what you had to do to get to the father, which was Osiris. But before you get to Osiris, you had to go by Haru. And Ma'at will weigh your heart against the feather, and the remaining things that Ma'at didn't settle, they had, if you look at the top of the scene in the Book of the Dead, it has 12 sort of like scribes sitting up there. And that's where they got 12 people in the jury from. And the remaining issues in your life that Ma'at didn't bring resolution to, those 12 scribes would evaluate the rest of it, and then therefore passing you on to Haru or denying you on to Haru, and Haru to get to the father Osiris. So that's the deal with that. All right, I'm ready to listen some more. I just wanted to add that in, while we were on the topic.
Yeah, thank you, Joe, for your comments. Really, thank you very much.
I was the first one to read the book.
I know. The book's been out about 1.5 years now, and people who got the book that I gave the book to, like my father and sister and what have you, and my close friends, they haven't read it yet. They haven't read it all the way through yet. Now, you have to read a book all the way through in order to understand it. You just can't read bits and pieces. Rastaki, you read the book all the way through. I know you did, because you brought up some points that were very important. But some people are not readers. They're just not readers. They like to watch television. Now, I can tell you what TV is. TV is a book in motion. It's a book in motion. But a lot of us don't understand what an artist, a writer does. And so they watch the pictures and they might skip over a lot of stuff and really don't understand it deeply. See, there's a lot of allegory, a lot of allegorical information in all books. But what is it really saying? That's in literature. What is it really saying? I just got finished studying No Time to Die because I'm a James Bond fan. And it has something directly related to vaccines in there, in DNA, okay? So when we read these books and watch these movies, we need to understand them. But how can we understand them if we don't know literary devices, if we don't know what the author's talking about, if we don't know where he or she is trying to go?
Brother Moore,
Yes.
can you brighten your light? Because we can't see you at all now.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying.
This is, we want to make sure the
Wait a
audience.
minute, I know, I can't even see myself.
Yeah, it got darker in there.
Okay.
So you can, if you can adjust that right quick.
Well, I don't know what the screen is all about. You know, what
But just turn your light on.
Technology is. But I'll turn on the light.
Yeah, please. Yeah, I'm able to share the book with everybody.
That's better.
Yeah, so we can see you.
Thank you.
Okay, so let me move on. Okay, here's a quote that you wanted to discuss. The stars are Chris Bell's classroom and studio. The cosmos is his playground, and the earth is his office.
Yes, we all have an office, right? That we work from, or would like to have one. An office where you sit down, you do your thinking, and you organize. See, the whole earth was Chris Bell's office because wherever he traveled, he made friends and he understood what was going on around him. And the people who met him respected him. Because when he was over in Europe and he met the stepfather, which was a very important figure in the book, they hit it off immediately. They had a conversation and they understood each other. See, the stepfather was the richest man in the world, but Forbes didn't know about it. The underground, that's why they call it the underground. You don't know about these people. But the service world, you get information from the media. The media tells you exactly what they want you to know. It may not be the truth, and it may not, because they didn't go there, but they did write up something and they presented it over the airwaves. So now you have the news. So Chris Bell, he studied from the earth. He sat on his desk, so to speak, okay, on the earth, and he would travel to the stars. So the stars was his studio. He would just know things and feel things because our brain, we have 5 brains in our body. He would know things and see things. He had great feelings, great feelings. He was connected to nature. He was connected to nature, and he was just a strange kid, very strange. He wasn't like other kids. He just wanted to see the differences. He wanted to see changes, and he wanted to be in the middle of them. He didn't want to talk about them and have somebody else do them. He didn't delegate these duties. He led. Now, the cosmos is his playground. Yes, Chris Bell had the ability to travel throughout the cosmos. Now we need to understand how big the cosmos is to have a understanding of what's going on. 9 billion light years in diameter. That's how big the cosmos is. Now, didn't you realize that you could skip across the cosmos at the blink of an eye? Or you can slow it down and go slower. Yes. That's what the kind of character Chris Bell was. He skipped across the cosmos and he visited a lot of stuff. Now, he was protected by higher powers, but he was able to do this. That's how he was able to run on water. That's how he was able to run 300 miles in the dark. That's how he was able to tell other people, help other people, and so they could reach their potential too. Okay, County.
Okay, so now I want to do some quotes from the book. I have 4 of them. I want you to respond. I'm gonna do one and then I'm gonna go to the panel. Here's the first one. Let your wants develop naturally by doing fundamental activities, and what we call desires become reality.
Okay, very good. Say that you want to do buy a car, a good car to get around. And you could go out and steal it, or you can go out and work for it. I can come up with a lot of examples. Now, the fundamental thing to get that car the right way is to go out and work for it for a year or 6 months, save your money, and go buy the car instead of going to some bank and robbing it and try to get the money instantly. That's instant gratification. So if we apply these rules to the things we do, like even a woman, you like the way she looks? Oh, beautiful, she's beautiful. You gotta earn her respect. You can't go up there and slap her and take her love from her. You gotta earn it. And that, we can apply that statement, and we have to live by it to all facets of life. Fundamentals. They called, what's his name who used to play for the San Antonio Spurs? The big fundamental.
Tim Duncan.
Yeah, you got Tim Duncan. See, they called him the big fundamental for a reason, because if you watch him play, you could see his fundamentals. Now you watch others play, they may miss this and miss a step, but he was always fundamentally sound. So we had to learn the fundamentals, stick to them, and then we can get whatever we want out of life.
Okay. Okay, let's go to Brother Doctor. Question and comment? Or comment?
No, not right now.
Okay, Brother Joe?
Yeah, I have a comment about the fundamentals. Whatever you partaking in, and the stuff is not desired to go, it is always said that go back to the basics, which is the fundamentals. That's all fundamentals are, basics. And the stuff will come back together. And let me say this about whatever you want. I had another theory that I taught in my class. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I had a theory that said no LBS was my theory. And no LBS means whatever you want to attain in life, if you eliminate LBS from the situation, you can attain it. What does LBS stand for? No laziness and the BS, I'm gonna let you figure out. If you can eliminate laziness and BS from the situation, there's nothing that you cannot attain.
And Joe, can I say it in a funny way? Bullshit.
Well, yeah. Well, every time you can say it, all my students used to holler it out.
Okay, go ahead.
Another thing I used to teach is the 5 P's. Planning and preparation prevents poor performance. And I have, matter of fact, I used to have, now that I retired, I have shirts, I have T-shirts that have that stuff printed on it. And I saw one of my students in Sam's Club one day, and I had the shirt on. I said, "You remember this?" She's like, "I sure do, no." Because I drove it in them, I drilled it into them, and I made them to chart their whole activities for a day. The pro and con, does it come under whatever you did that day? Does it come under laziness or does it come under BS? And then you can evaluate yourself. And and LBS is anything that's not taking care of business. And you want your stuff on the business side. But anyway, that's it. I'm gonna chime out now and maybe come back later when you cover another aspect of the book that I can elaborate on. All right, thank you.
All right, Brother Joe. Rob, we're gonna come back to you after a couple of more. Okay, another one here, Brother Moore. Outsmarting racism.
And that is a very important key to learn how to outsmart racism, because it's been with us ever since we've known what us is. And racism is an agenda. It's an agenda. The people who are racist, they're really afraid of something. You can think about it. What are they afraid of? Now, how you are outsmart racism is simply laughing at it. If somebody called me a nigga, I'll laugh at them. I don't go want to beat them up. What for? I had a friend, a very close friend named Terry Bender. And I'm gonna mention his name because he was a close friend of mine. We did some good work together, just like Carl Wimmer when I went up north to Ephraim, Utah. But he grew up with me. He was around me every day, right here in the hood, right here in Compton. Terry Bender, he was whenever I talk about it, I get emotional because Terry Bender died about 2 years ago. He was a good dude. He was raised by good parents. He was from good stock, but he was in the world just like anybody else. You have to deal with whatever comes at you, whatever was ever thrown at you. So he had to deal with racism too. But this is what he did. When we were very close friends, we were seeing each other. He came to my house and played dominoes. I played dominoes with him, one-on-one. He went to work one day and he went in the white neighborhood to deliver a package. And the white boy called him a nigger. Now, Terry blew up. He went in there and beat the dude up, right? Well, you know what was gonna happen. The dude called back to the UPS. He was working for UPS at the time. Good job. And he had a family. He had 3 little kids he was raising. And a good wife that was raised in Compton. The dude called up his supervisor, told him what happened. Terry said, well, he called me a nigga. So what? You're fired. Okay. Now, Terry never got a good job after that because his name was Sawyer. And it really played a hardship in raising his kids. But he earned that job. He should have retired on that job. That's a government job or a highly private job that we need our packages delivered. And I believe that the United States Postal Service is the best business in the world, period, hands down. Now, there's a lot of other businesses you might think that can rival it, but when you deliver a package across the world on time, and that's why they called, what's his name, that basketball player that used to play for the Utah Jazz, Karl Malone. They called him the mailman. See, because he delivered. Now, Terry was in this business. So if he could have said, and it's in the book too, I put it in the book, if he could have laughed at the guy and said something like, "The niggas aren't bad people, or even niggas are better than you." Or he could have said, "Well, if I'm a nigga, your daddy's a nigga," or anything. Instead of beating him up, he still held his job. You got to outsmart racism. And I know they want to shoot sometime, and that's happened in the past. Well, my daddy went through the Korean War, and we'd ask him a lot and he didn't talk about it because they debriefed him a lot, but he had other syndrome, post-traumatic syndrome. He did have that. Who's not going to have to see all that killing? But he used to say, "I was a ducking dude." That's how he got through it. That was it. So you have to outsmart certain things. You can't let them grab on hold of you and pull you down. You got to outsmart them. You got to outsmart racism. That's one of the ways to laugh at it. Laugh and know that it doesn't carry any weight. It's just a ghost. Racism itself. They can say it all they want and do the things to promote it all they want, but it's still a ghost, because in the end, they're going to need you just like you need them. Okay. All right.
Okay, Professor Ra, question, comments? You gotta unmute, Ra.
Is he on me?
Okay,
Can you hear me now?
yes.
Yeah, I was saying this is very informative because the beautiful thing about literature and art, any fine arts or theater arts, is the freedom. And you can come up with your own definitions. You can color the sun gray. You can color this, anything, that's the freedom. And that's how we got communicated during our incarceration and the Holocaust of enslavement and incarceration, through arts, through song, dance, and through fine arts, sculpture, paintings. And that's what you started out about, art and the freedom that it comes. There's certain things within the context of wanting is a disease that drives wants, and that's envy and jealousy that drives a person to want. Now, to want a car, you have to have a reason, a purpose, because some people get a car and all they want to do is go and chase young girls up and down the street. And then there's some people want a car to go to work or to go to college or to help their parents or take their brothers and sisters. So you have to tie that want with a meaningful purpose. Just wanting things and the only fear is to have is what drives people to steal, like you said. The impatience, they need it right now. So they're not gonna save, they're not gonna work, they're gonna go out and steal a car and go pick somebody up in it or and act like it's theirs or, strip it and sell the parts or whatever. But anyway, so that's why I was dealing with that. The other thing about racism, it's hard to simplify racism to the fact that you can outsmart it, because a lot of people, it's institutional. There's a difference between prejudice and racism. When someone calls you an N-word, that's prejudice. You can respond or don't respond. You ain't talking to me because I ain't one, But racism is like, I'm gonna fire you and hire somebody white. It affects your life. Your life, goods and services, and the administration of justice based upon race. It's institutional. That's why you say there's some good white people, but and say, well, I had nothing to do with, I'm not a racist, but your society is, and you're not fighting against it or not recognizing. So I like the way you deal with the analysis of Chris Bell and all of them and the characters about outsmarting it. But I think they have to outsmart the system and the institutions, as well as deal with the prejudice of people that practice prejudice, racial prejudice versus racism institutionally. And this is why, I think Chris Bell and the whole concept behind being smart is not just responding to personal prejudice, but getting around the whole institution of racism. That's all.
Okay. James E. Watson. He was a senator back in the 1930s. He coined the phrase, if you can't beat them, join them. And when I was a kid and watching cartoons, I used to hear that all the time. I didn't know who said it, but it was James E. Watson. He was a senator, a United States senator. Now, this is how Chris Bell outsmarted racism. If you read the book, he accepted from the Attorney General of the United States of America to go to work for him. That's the very last part of the book. He accepted to work for the United States of America because they asked him. I mean, he did more work. See, the war against drugs back in those days cost America a lot of money, up into the billions. Chris Bell protected his turf and he gave it back to him. There was the corrupt ones and there was the ones that weren't corrupt. He gave all that stuff back to him, man, and they couldn't believe it. All they could see was some guys dressed in black with mask on their face, on their faces. That's it. So Chris Bell, how he outsmarted racism is that he turned himself in to him. He called him up and said, yeah, we did it. So now the Attorney General speaks with the CIA and FBI, just certain people, of course, and he respects what Chris Bell did and offered him a job. See, now that's going to be in the second part of the book, Natural Born Gangster 2. See, I'm going to attack racism because I know how it is. I know that it's destructive, and I know it's no good, and it's worthless. And it hurts everybody, not just the people who are perpetrating it, but the people who are receiving it. It just hurts. It's a disease that shouldn't be in the country at all. But the Natural Born Gangster, Chris Bell, what it does, it attacks and brings up a lot of issues. A lot of issues. If you read the book, you would see this. A lot of issues. Racism is one of them. That's why I wanted to bring it up, because he worked well with whites as well as blacks. He even said that some blacks are my biggest nemesis. Okay? So, good point, Rashaki.
Okay, so now,
How was your day?
okay, so now I want to make a comparison of outsmarting racism to Neely Fuller Jr., which he has a counter racist code. So I think that anybody that's listening to this podcast, check out Neely Fuller Jr. and his book, which is a counter racist code book. Okay, so now this is more so something that I think is like self-explanatory, and you can respond to this or not, but I thought it was a real good quote. Everyone in this room is family. If not a family of blood, then a family of love. And that was on page 581. So I thought that was a good quote. Did you want to respond to that in any
Most
way?
certainly do. Everything about this book, if you have any questions, I had to respond to it. It's my duty to respond to my readership. You know, it's like a ball player, and I know that we used to playing ball in sports. We love sports. Any ball player, football player, basketball player, when they do something to win a game, the people here, the fans want to hear from them. What made you do that? What were you thinking about? How do you feel about it? So it's my duty to respond to the readership. Any question in this book, it was my duty to respond to it. Now, family, I know that family sometimes can go against family or be mad at family or don't get along with family. The greatest family mishap that I have ever heard of or seen of was the Europeans and the Americans. The Europeans came from Europe. They started that colony back in 1607, the Jamestown colony. They started it. But yet family in the Revolutionary War was fighting family because they were from Europe. Okay? Then that's the greatest example I have for you right now. But families, sometimes they don't get along. And a family of something, that means that it's a collective. A collective. That means you gonna protect your family, even if it's kind of wrong or half wrong from somebody else. So we have a family of hate, and then we have a family of love. Now, the family of love, what they're gonna do is ultimately overcome everything anyway. But yes, families, a family of love should hug each other, should understand each other, be able to talk about anything. Everybody's not the same. You have unique individuals that will do something that others won't. My mother is a prime example of that. And when she was alive, she died about 2 years ago. She would say the first thing on her mind. You would think that she wasn't even thinking about it, but she was ahead of everybody else, and she just said it. She didn't reserve stuff. She said stuff. And people would say, oh, no, she didn't. Oh, yes, she did. Okay. So, and my daddy was standing back there. He said, you better not touch her. He was protecting her. So, yes, we have to have a family of love. And whatever differences we have to work them out. We have to talk about them. Whatever issues it is, we have to talk. Communication and understanding is the best thing in the world between a boy and girl, between everybody.
Okay, let me go to Sister Aziza. Sister Aziza, question or comment?
No, not at the moment. It's just interesting. I'm just listening. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, this is the last quote from the book. for so
Anyway, I wanted to make a comment before we got off the racism thing, if that's all right.
go ahead.
To be historically correct, you know, racism is a 500-year-old concept. It wasn't always here. You know, back during, you know, prior to the 14th and 15th century, you know, racism wasn't really known in the world. But when the Europeans rose up after that time period and realized that he wanted to dominate the world, that's when the concept started to be used to belittle, you know, people of color, Africans, Arabs, Native Americans in particular. You must remember that prior to the Europeans rising up after the Crusades and whatnot, you know, those Arabs, you know, whooping on that butt for a long time during them Crusades. So the European kind of had a thing against, you know, people of color anyway from that. And when they came to the so-called Americas and seeing this dark-skinned native that was there, immediately put in the back of his mind of those Arabs that they had just got through battling all those years in the Crusades and whatnot. And so, you know, that's when it really started to be employed, like, you know, after the fall of Granada in 1488 in Spain with the Moors. You know, but up until that time, it really wasn't a thing, you know, because the Europeans were going, were going to, Northeast Akibalan to get the education and all of that, barring science and philosophy and what have you. So, the thing what we call racism, really didn't exist prior to that. That's all I want to say on that point. So we'd be correct in terms of our analysis of the concept. Okay, that was it.
Okay, thanks for that. Okay, here's the quote. For so long, Black and Indigenous people have been so mentally trapped and imprisoned in their own minds that they cannot think for themselves, always relying on allegorical tricks and sensational symbolism to do their thinking for them.
Well, you've heard of the term boob tube. Okay, the television is one of the most allegorical and desensitizing instruments ever built. The television and the stories they put together, they're allegorical. They have hidden messages within them. And if you knew more about history, know about yourself, you can see them, they're glaring. They're glaring. Right now, in the movie that just came out, No Time to Die, because I'm a movie buff, but I watch movies for the story. I ain't in it for the glory. I watch movies to see how the writers put them together. Now, in this movie, they have DNA and vaccines, okay, in this movie. And we have a global problem with vaccines now. Some people want them, some people don't, and all that. But what's going on is in the movie that they get your DNA, your genomes and your DNA, and they are able to manufacture some chemicals from that. And this is the beauty of it. This is what I understood. Once you get infected, you can touch a loved one and kill them. Go watch the movie. It's out now. And that is allegorical. So you need to put, when you read these books that these different authors come out with, some authors have more information to give than others. Some talk about the things that need to be talked about instead of the things that don't. Degrassi, he's an astrophysicist. He talks about things that really we don't need to know about. They're not telling about ourselves, not unless we understand the allegory within them. Okay, so the whole idea is to understand who you are, know thyself. All of this stuff that's in the universe, and all these people that's talking, all these people that's writing, all these people that are doing the arts and the sciences, it comes down to one thing: know yourself, know who you are, know what's going on. And when you do know that, you can figure out what's going on around you. Chris Bell did that. He did that before he was 18. He knew what was going on, so he wasn't being tricked. The only thing he wanted to do was do the things, complete the things, accomplish the things that he believed in. And he did. He became the richest man in the world, and he protected the west side of Chicago. That's it. But now there's more going on. He colluded, with the United States government. They're gonna send him to do a whole lot of stuff in the second book. I'm just telling you how it's going and where it came from. Indigenous people are indigenous people. They were there first. They know the land. They love the land. The indigenous Indians, they were here first. The Europeans came over in 1607. How long were they here before the Europeans came? And how many others visited? But they were there first. Okay, so they're indigenous now. So they got to know the animals. They got to know the spell of the land. They got to know every hole in the land, every cave, where water was. See, they knew stuff. They just knew, they knew the land. That's why they were indigenous.
Okay.
Now, wait a minute. The minds of the people. That's very important. See, Chris Bell, when he decided to go visit the Muslim mosque, he had his own mind. Jamal was trying to tell him, a character in the book, tell him how to think. Chris Bell said, no, I don't think that way. I do my own thinking. So it's like games in the casino. Okay, there are games you can do your own thinking, and there's games when you don't do your own thinking. Like the slot machine, all you gotta do is push your button, you don't have to think. Okay, crap table, all you have to do is put your money where it needs to be, and the dice will do your thinking for you. The roulette table, the ball does your thinking for you. In blackjack, you do your own thinking. Okay, now the reason I brought that up because I'm a casino dealer. I know all the games. I can explain them to you. I can make you a better player if that's what you want to do. But most people don't want to be gamblers. They say it's gambling. I say it's hustling. You go out there and you give, it's legal. You go out there and you get the money. Yeah, you give the house a good run for its money. That's all it is. Yeah, gambling ain't this. It ain't no taboo, it ain't bad. All you doing, my daddy was one of the best gamblers on the face of the earth, okay? And he never taught me how to gamble. He wanted me to go to school and do something else. But I understand it. So when you're gambling, you got to know the game, you got to know the rules, and you can't be scared. Because in the Black community, they said, scared man can't win. And that's true. A scared man can't do much of anything. That's fear, right? You can't be scared of racism. You can't be scared to go on the next block. What you scared of? There are things that you can do. Then Chris Bell did these things. He walked straight into fear and he turned it around. My goodness, he combined the vice lords and the Black disciples. And that is a phenomenal thing in itself. See, but people don't understand it. They really don't understand a lot of things about themselves, and they don't understand a lot of things about literature. Okay? No, they know how to read, but reading is just making sounds. To understand is a lot deeper than just reading. You can read a book all day long and make sounds, the vowels and all that, and put the consonants together, but do you understand what's in the material? Sometimes you got to look at something for a long time to see what it means, to feel what it means. We got 5 brains. We don't even use them. We don't even use our one brain, all of it. And we got 5 of them. See, Chris Bell used all his brains. That's why he was a legend. And that's why other people can't understand when they read it, how he did so many things, what he did. Because he used all his brains. He was one with the cosmos. He was one with nature. The cosmos was his playground. The stars was his studio and the earth was his office. That's why he was able to do the things he did. Now, once they understand that, and then they'll say, oh yeah, shit, he can make changes. Oh yeah, he can get somebody to stop killing innocent people, that type of thing. Hey, Joe, how's it going?
Y'all want to chime in?
Okay.
Show is for my historical content. And when you talk about indigenous and these Native Americans, we first must take into account, the Africans that came here even before then. There's books been written about it. One of the ones that you guys probably can relate to is by Ivan Van Sertima that came before Columbus. So not even going deeper than that, it's a book called America BC. It was written by a European scholar at Yale by the name of Barry Fell. And when he wrote the book, they fired him for writing the book. And he was talking about the Ethiopians and all those people that were here in America, but he wasn't describing them as Africans. He never used that word. And I found the book, and believe it or not, in the Compton Library back in the 80s. And it wasn't but 5 of these books in the whole state of California. And I kind of lifted the book. I kept it and didn't take it back to the library. For years later, I was at the African marketplace and I found one. And so through a friend of mine, I arranged to return it to the Compton Library. They wasn't even mad at me, and they didn't even charge me all of those late fees for keeping it all those years. But it's called America BC by Barry Fell. So, and if you look at the Olmec heads that were dug up out of Veracruz, Mexico, those helmets that those brothers are wearing are from the 3rd dynastic period in Egypt. So that's quite a while ago. And it's believed that the so-called indigenous Indians, if you will, which is a misnomer, that, they traveled through Asia, down through Russia, and through Alaska, and down through, Washington, Oregon now, and got to the tip of Argentina in about 500 BC. So I just want to, clear that up about indigenous people. And I also, back when you were talking about racism, it's just not here in America. It's a global thing. Any people of color, dark, have been, for that last 500 years, have been discriminated against, by the lighter folks. You see it in India, you see it in China, you see it in Japan. It's everywhere. Even in places like Brazil, where they have the Latino-looking Brazilians. Well, the ones that look like Africans are discriminated against big time. So that's a global thing. It's just not here in America and in Europe. I remember in China, they had some Africans over there when the pandemic started, and the Chinese was chasing them all around town, talking about, you passing COVID, you passing COVID. And there was one Nigerian brother that they really respected, and he took all of these, Africans into his home and was feeding them and whatnot, because they were running through the city, vying for their very lives to stay alive, because the Chinese were jumping on them, trying to beat the hell out of them. But anyway, I just, I can't resist adding, my little 2 cents in when it comes to historical stuff. You guys know how I am. So anyway, that's it. I just wanted to clarify some things, and I'll turn it back over to the host.
Okay. Brother Calvin, do you have anything else on that?
Chris Bell, thank you very much. Thanks, Joe, for your additions. Thank you very much. Chris Bell was he was a spiritual guy, period. He wasn't worldly. He was not secular. He was spiritual. So he flew over a lot of that stuff that we are engaged in and embedded in. He just understood differently. He didn't have any fear. See, racism, that's what it does. And prejudice and all of it. I'm sure that we have experienced it one time, at least one time in our lives, okay? Either vicariously or personally, we've experienced it. Wow, what's going on around here? That guy seemed that he could do the job better than that guy, but he can't get the job. See, it's along with nepotism and cronyism. That's what it is. It's fake, it's phony, and it's not going to get us anywhere in the long pool. The real people have to guide us to where we need to be, because there will come a day when the racism won't mean a thing. It won't mean a thing. And Chris Bell knew this. And why do you know this? Because he went on Astro Journeys. Why? He was packed with information. You sit down and talk with a Chris Bell, and then he can tell you everything. And the boy never finished high school. He was a doctorate. He had doctorates times over, because he did his own reading. He was self-educated, like Alexander the Great was, like Hitler was, like most great men were. Napoleon, Bonaparte. They were self-educated. We don't need somebody else telling us the wrong thing and call that education and you get a PhD. No, we don't need that. We need to know who we are. Who's gonna tell us? Well, I'll tell you what, go on Astro Journeys, it'll help. Okay, there's people that are conscious, that know what's going on. Shoot, my daddy knew, he said he knew as much as his high school teachers knew. But he taught me a lot, and I'm supposed to be educated. It's not because I love him and respect him, because it's true. He went on Astro Journeys and didn't even know it. He thought he was having dreams, but he was a conscious man. Okay, he would weigh things, level them. He wasn't the kind of man that you can run something over on him. Okay. Now, we have all these people, and we have all these problems. 8 billion people on the face of the earth. Okay, and you got a handful of them trying to tell the other ones what to do. That should tell you something right now. And then you got all the cosmos out there. You got a Googleplex of cosmos to deal with. You can concentrate. That's information. That's light out there. That's dark matter, dark energy. And the reason why the 13 septillion, 176 trillion pound Earth is not falling down to the bottom of the universe is because the dark matter is holding it up. The dark matter is consciousness. The dark matter is orderly. And that's what Chris Bell was into. It's orderly. That's why the Earth is not bumping into the moon, because we have order in there. And it's dark matter. And the last time I checked, the greatest scientific minds on the planet couldn't explain dark matter. They can't even explain dark energy, but they can explain the atom. They can go in there and see what's going on in the atom, but your third eye can see all that. I told you your third eye can see into the nucleus of an atom. And atom is the building blocks of existence. You can see that. Chris Bell saw this, okay? That's why he was able to do what he did. See, but the book is allegorical, but I'm telling you what Chris Bell was. He was a legend, okay? And he was a natural born gangster because he was born in the ghetto, okay, by natural birth, and he was one with nature. That's the book. Now, the next time that we have a podcast, I am going to do more of a lecture and tell you all about this. So those who don't understand the book and its allegorical properties, I'm going to try to explain them to you, because it's all about knowing yourself. And it's all about, as I said in my argument of the book, and we talked about the argument before, and we built on it, you know, to this point. We came up to this point. We went over, what, 591 pages so far. The book is 640. And I even talked about the end of the book, how Chris Bell came together with the powers that be, the powers that be right now or right then, and they formed an alliance, because ultimately you're gonna have to protect yours. The Marines may not be enough. And if you read the book, Chris Bell and his gang rivaled the Marines, but they did it for a purpose, to protect their people. Chris Bell wanted to protect his mother and sister. He loved them, okay? That's what he really wanted to do. Now, the real art for humanity to follow is to work together. That's ultimate goal right there, is to work together. All this racism and division, distractions, there'll come a time when we're gonna have to work together. That's why I like the movie Independence Day. And these aliens attacked us, and now we're gonna all work together now to save the world. Shoot, that's what it's all about. We gotta save humanity, okay? So all the racism and all this other stuff that makes racism and prejudice is a bunch of malarkey when it comes to the real deal. Now, intelligence ends where spirituality begins. See, we can all be scientists. We can be scientists. Oh man, we can know so much, say all these big words, high sounding words and what have you. We can do that. And we can go into the laboratory and test things. Oh, this, that. And I know the laboratory tests are good. They're good. But that's where intelligence ends. Spirituality begins. Now that's a whole world. that our ancestors knew, they practiced and studied, that we don't do it. Because Harvard, that university in 1636, when it was established, does not promote it. They'd rather have scientists running around than philosophers and metaphysicians, okay? But that's what's gonna come down to, spirituality, because that's how the pyramids were built. And they really can't deal with it. But we have to practice it because we can. We're melanated people. We have to practice our spirituality, no matter how long it takes. Because
Okay.
the pyramids were built on a spiritual basis, not on a mathematical basis only. They had to stop. Oh,
He's back on. See, I told you.
okay, Rasaki.
We had some technical difficulties over here on our end, but I think you guys kept going. So
No, well, I don't know what happened. All I
I
did,
had some technical difficulties. But before you proceed, I want to get Brother Doctor in because I know he haven't asked a question or made a comment. Want to see if he have any before we conclude this evening. Brother Doctor.
Oh, no, just taking it all in, man. Really like what he was saying. Can't wait till he comes back on with more, man. It's very interesting.
Okay. I think Hembrick has something to say here.
You know, you touched on the word, allegory quite often during the presentation. I don't know if everybody understands. Are you leaving?
He'll be right back.
I was directing it towards him. Can he still hear?
He can't, but you could go ahead for the video purposes.
Well, the term allegory, I don't know if everybody understands it, it's a story to illustrate a point of truth, although the story need not be true. And the biggest allegorical book in the world is I hate to say this, we keep dancing around it, but it's the Bible. But that's another story. It is straight allegorical stuff. But anyway, I just wanted to, raise that point. And when he talks about the pyramids, he's basically talking about the big three, but there are 90-some pyramids. So, the early ones that are, down towards, Uganda, coming up from Lake Agena, which has been called, Lake Victoria since the British came on the scene. They're all down there too. And they started out like as burial, places for the nobles and whatnot. So, but I think what Mr. Moore is referring to is the big three, Giza and all of that, because those stones are like a block long. And no one has been able to figure out, how it was done. And then lastly, when he was talking about these people who were self-educated, I kind of dispute some of that. He mentioned, Alexander the Great, what they call him the Great for, I never know. I don't know he was great. Only thing he did was, invade Egypt and ransack the temples and all of that with, who was that with him? One of those Greek philosophers, Aristotle was, and 53 students. But what I will give him credit for is when he got there, he kissed the ground because he realized that's where all the civilization that he knew came from. And as far as Hitler, who started out as an artist at first, he was a frustrated art student in Austria, and it was two German philosophers where he got a lot of his understanding and philosophy from. I can't remember their names, but both of the guys' last names start with L. But anyway, I kind of disputed that they were self-educated. And let me think about the term education. It's just job training, like I've stated earlier. A BS is bullshit, a MS is most shit, and a PhD is stuff piled high and deep. You need it for a job, but education, it is not. It's job training. You want education, that's something you got to do for yourself in the library, to go outside the box and get the truth. And the last point I'm going to make, he was talking about dealing with racism and whatnot. I got to refer to El-Haj Malik El-Shabazz, otherwise known as Malcolm X. He said, when you're dealing with that, put something on them that they can't stand, which is the truth. And just like he was talking about Brother Terry Bender, who I knew, matter of fact, he married a girl that lived down the street from me. He should have put the truth on it. He said, yeah, I may be a nigga, but you was crawling around on all fours doing that.
Okay.
Now, if our people know the truth, which we don't know the truth, and we don't know ourselves, that's why we suffer from what we suffer from, with all those frustrations that institutional racism brings about. So that's all I'm gonna say for the night. I'll defer to someone else. But thanks for the opportunity to present, and thank you, brother, for coming back on. And me and you go way back, man. And you don't answer my calls no more, man. I don't know what's up. I guess you're busy writing and stuff or running gambling parties and whatnot.
All right.
Hey,
Now,
Joe, thanks for your comments, man.
Okay, so
This is
now,
the author.
we got Dr. Terry Strong on now. She came in.
Ooh.
And Dr. Strong, we just about concluding. I don't know if there's anything you can say related to what we were talking about, but we just want to acknowledge you. It's good to see you. I'll show you the book here. I think I took it down, but let me pull it back up so you can see it and anybody else. Where is it? Right here.
Hello, Dr. Amin Ra.
Yeah, Abani Ghani, good to see you, Dr. Strong, and this always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure to see you as well.
Yeah.
Okay, let me present the book so we could all see it again. Would love for you to check it out, Dr. Strong, when you get some time.
I will.
There it is. It's right
Natural
there.
born gangster.
The Legend of Chris Bell by CJH Moore, which is our featured guest this evening. And he joined the CEN team along with you just recently. So he's a part of the team also.
Okay.
It's nice to see you on, Dr. Terry Strong. I'm Calvin Moore, the author of the book.
Good to see you.
And nice to see you on. I must say I didn't know what you were like before, but I know what you're like now. And you are such a beautiful person.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You are.
And let's share Dr. Strong's book before we get out of here. Here it is. Lynching Lynchism. It's Time to Heal and What We Must Do. Excellent book also. Right. So now, any closing remarks, Professor Ra?
Abani Ghani again, appreciate what's been said, if I understand correctly. I love Chris Bell. I've had some Chris Bells in my life throughout Watts and Compton. individuals with a deep intuition that did what they had to do, but tried to do good with what they had to do. And, you know, like Malcolm was self-educated. And that shows young men who don't go to school that you can teach yourself. If you get in contact with your cosmos and your spirituality, you gotta want to though. You gotta wanna do good and bring good into the world. Chris Bell was a unique individual with unique spiritual insight and charisma and the ability to change the lives of people, because he changed his life. And it's just a unique aspect. Novel, but it's a historical novel. And it's also contemporary because there are a lot of individuals that you know base their life on their spirituality, on their ability to be spiritual. Many of our parents, as our brother Moore was saying, you know, they didn't go to school or couldn't go to school, but they had more sense than the people that went to school because they could think and they relied on their spirituality, their faith. You know, sometimes people get power from different sources to energize their cosmos, their intuition, and as brother Joe was saying, that the pyramids were built through a mystery system that people are trying to figure out how they leveled the ground, how they leveled the bricks that they put in the order, and how they left it open whereas they could see the sun and time, and it's all about honoring the dead. Sometimes they buried people that the person that they were honoring alive, and they put treasures in it. And you see all these movies about people going in the pyramids to get the treasure. That's where King Tut stuff came from, and that they're traveling around with, but it was all spiritual. Spiritual driven with a purpose. And the same thing with Chris Bell. He had a purpose. He saw his purpose in life. And it wasn't, it wasn't to, go along with the system. He created his own system to do good in his mind and in his actions and amongst the people that benefit from his good. But there's a world out there, like Joe was saying, a universe. And you can travel all you want through dreams and minds, but at the same time, the further you go, the less you see. And sometimes, when you travel physically, but when you deal with a spiritual sight and faith, that's what the whole spirituality thing is about, faith. That what you're seeing is empowering you to do good things and to bring good into the world. I mean, and that's why some Christians believe, Jesus was exceptional, whether you believe he was God's son or not. If you accept the stories in the biblical text or Prophet Muhammad, if you accept the stories in that. Abraham in the Old Testament, if you accept the stories and their contributions to billions of people that follow their faith. So, you have to realize that the majority of the people in the world rely on their common sense or their spiritual forms of guidance. To live and to be. So Chris Bell, like you say, growing up in where he grew up and seeing the world the way he's seen it, a lot of his friends around him couldn't see it the way he saw it because they didn't have his spirituality and they didn't have his power. And so he became a leader. and he became a transformer. And I haven't read the book, but I've been on enough of these podcasts with the author of the book to get the gist of what Chris Bell was about. So, he was a hero to many people. And some people, he was a god, because of his deliverance of his powers and his way of making people transform and be better people. So I love the novel and the story. So it's a great book, and I can see why you had to keep writing and keep writing and keep writing, because it's a story that it's hard to end, because there's so many episodes and expansions that go into it. So it's good. Contact for that, brother. Appreciate you coming on, telling us about it, and ain't nothing like hearing it from the person that wrote it.
Yeah, I'm Ron. Thank you very much for your kudos, man. Thank you.
Okay.
I really do. Now, you can't write about a legend in 300 pages. And now I'm going to close out, but now I'm going to let you go ahead. But Rasaki, you can't write about a legend in 300 pages. I don't care how good you are. Go ahead, Rasaki.
Okay, so Amin Ra hit on spirituality, and I wanted to go to Dr. Terry Strong because she said something when we were on before. I think you said that we are physical beings having a spiritual. Can you repeat that, Dr. Strong?
We are natural beings having a spiritual experience.
Okay, and can you touch on that a little bit?
That means that who we are, you can't see. You see where we live. When I look in the mirror, I see a house, but I know that I am in this house, this physical house. There's a spiritual being in this physical house. That's who I am.
Okay.
You live in you're a spiritual being living in a natural house. And that's who we all are. If you notice, when we're born with a body, but also with that body comes a spirit. When we go back to the dust, where does that body go? In the ground, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. You go back to the earth, but your spirit lives on. The spirit never dies.
Okay, thanks for that. All right, Brother Moore, closing remarks.
Yes. Dr. Terry Strong, thank you for your addition and for your comments. Yes.
Thank you so much. I truly I missed, I was on another meeting, which went kind of long, but the little I have heard, Dr. Amin Ra is always profound, but I appreciate you. I have the name of this book and I will get it to check it out.
Well, it's a book, it's a very similar to. And when I say that, people say, what's that, Calvin? Okay, it's fiction and nonfiction mixed up. You put it in a jar, you mix it, you shake it, and you pour it out into your cup or pour it out on the table if you don't want to drink it. So that's what it is. And this book can change a lot of things that's going on around us.
Oh, so it sounds like a fiction book that has nonfiction connotations.
Yes, ma'am.
Underlying messages.
That's author to author. And you know, I'd like to get to know you better, really. You know, because one thing for sure, you are an author, but you wrote a book. And after we come off the air, can I speak to you a little bit?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay, Cal. Okay, so now, Professor Rob, do we have a topic for Conscious Corner on?
We're gonna deal with reparations.
Reparations, okay.
Black reparations, and try to have this brother. He just wrote a plan called I forget what it's called, but we're gonna deal with, there's a lot of challenges, a lot of people out there with different concepts of what reparations is. And I just think that we need to just deal with it because some people been dealing with reparations since the 1800s. And some people just started and they think they know more than the people, So we just get into that discussion because there's some black people that say they don't want no reparations. And then some, like Larry Elder said, the white folks need reparations for all the money they lost when the black people got out of slavery.
They actually received theirs.
Well, that's why we're gonna have this discussion. I hope you be there to explain how white folks got reparations. I know what you're talking about in part of Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation was to pay some of the Southern people for their losses and in order to keep them in the Union and all that. But we'll have that. Yeah.
Okay, well, that should be very interesting.
Yeah.
Now,
the name's Cliff Pruitt. I'll send you the information.
Okay. Now, next week, we have a real good show. Dr. Mike is coming back on, a colleague of mine. And the topic is Real Eyes Realize Lies, Determining Reality for Black Americans. So that should be very interesting.
Who's that going to be that? Do that?
Dr. Mike.
Dr. Mike, who
he's a teacher at Centennial High School.
Oh, Dr.
He came
Mike.
on, yeah. So now, I would like to thank everybody this evening for coming. And Brother Moore, the book is awesome. I can't say, enough about it. It's wonderful.
One more thing I want to say, Roski, and
Go ahead.
I'm gonna let you flow. I'm just gonna make this statement, this final statement, so it can ring in the hearts of all men, especially melanated men and women. Intelligence ends where spirituality begins.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, everybody, each one teach one in Conscious Corner. Have a good evening.
All right.
All right, sign off.